But it has to be a form of image. Why? Okay, listen. An intermediate truth is when you can take an image and apply that image to your life, and the way you see your life is through the frame of that image. So it's very. So let me give you a second example. This is very. What people always lift up in the sports world is that one thing they say is that great sports people, people who excel in sports are at some point they can imagine the scene that they're about to execute before they do it. So that's one thing that Michael Jordan said. A lot of these people have a lot of these people work with professionals, whether you know it or not, that help them with their imaging because they want to see things. They don't want words. They don't want any thought process. They don't want anything cognitive. They want to actually see the scene that they're about to enter so they can execute it. And in the spiritual realm, an intermediate level of consciousness is when you're looking at your life and you're not looking at the room. You're looking at an image that God has given you for how to understand the room that you're in. So for example, if you look at biblical imagery, we could say this imagery of a ladder. Okay, now we don't want to interpret this, but you want to, on an intuitive level, you want to know that you're in a space in which you feel strong access to God's presence. You're in a space where you're in a space where you feel like you're surrounded by angels. You're surrounded by the activity of God, and you don't want to break it down. You don't want to analyze. You don't want to think about it. It's when basically you see in your environment, you see and you interpret your environment through the images that God has laid on your heart and mind. That's an intermediate level of consciousness.
So if you physically though were to hear a sound, not necessarily a voice even, but singing, music, whatever, and you hear that sound in your dream, is that celestial or is that intermediate?
It can be either one. It can be one. It can be an intermediate realm, but as long as you know this is an intuitive realm. This is a very parabolic realm. So it can be intuitive. But remember, the whole point of this intermediate is to lead you to this. So so the images are only unlocked in power when you understand this right here. So there is a gateway. So that makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Celestial. 1 minute. Go.
I should go first?
Yeah.
Well, when he awoke from his dreams and he realized, and it was said, God said, I am with you and I will be with you forever until the truth comes back, my promises come true. So he was with God, he was in that celestial place, and he realized, and he actually exclaimed, hey, this is the place. I'm with God. So it's almost like he said, I'm in heaven, or if you want to call it that, but I am with God. So that was his celestial truth.
Good. What y'all got?
Just hearing the same.
More,
Well, I heard you said how ultimate this place.
Okay, good.
There is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven.
Good. Okay, so excellent. So y'all on the same track. This
You know that when you with you.
So one celestial truth is that this ground which I'm on is sacred. God is here.
Right.
Okay.
It's similar to what what God told Moses, take off your shoes for the ground you're on. This is sacred. There's no way that, just like you all recognize, it's celestial, because there's no way that Jacob would have known that unless God would have revealed that to him. So it's all based on the revelation. There's no way he would have known that. So it's when you have a sense of God's presence, because that has been, revelation is given. It's not something to take. But look at the other celestial truths in there. A celestial truth, 13, I am the Lord your God, the Father of Abraham, Isaac, land on which you lie, I will give you and your offspring, celestial truth. Your offspring will be like the dust of the earth, celestial truth. You shall spread abroad to the west and to the east, and to the north, and to the south, and all the families shall be blessed in you and your offspring. Celestial truth. So these are things that God is revealing and God giving to Jacob, and Jacob, there's no way that Jacob would have physical way to verify that. So Jacob has to make a decision of if I'm going to embrace the celestial truth or not. But they're not in the terrestrial realm. So y'all listen up. Surely where I am is sacred. Now look at verse. This is the one beautiful thing about it. Verse 16. Then Jacob woke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. See, this is the other thing we have to say. Once you're exposed to the celestial realm, your terrestrial realm never looks the same. And that's what we have to understand. Where's the thing? Okay, let's go back. So his now, he went to sleep. Okay, so he started here. Literally, he went to sleep. Ladders, angels descending. This is the realm of images. He was exposed to this revelation. Then he comes back to the celestial realm, and now how he looks at this is completely different.
All right.
It's completely different. So because he was exposed to celestial truths, now his understanding of the terrestrial world is different. And this is the principle I wanted to lift up last week, is that before, we have to ask ourselves, before we try to change our terrestrial circumstances, we really should be trying to change our terrestrial perspective. Because as spiritual people, we're not going to be able to navigate in this realm in a very impactful and transformative way if we don't open ourselves up to these other truths, because these other truths will not only give us insight and revelation, but these other truths will transform how we look at our present life. And that's why it's so important to the meditation, the fasting, because at some point it opens us up to transforming how we see our world. And just like the guy lifted up and we talked about last week, you can change this world as much as you want, and you can get this world to bend to your will as much as you want, but it does not matter, because if you never expose yourself to these things, you will always be discontent with this world. And we do the process of complete backwards. We try to change the world so that we can feel better, but we really should be trying to change our understanding of the world first, and then go to building and moving in the world. That makes sense? So what we try to do is, in order to make ourselves feel better or to try to improve our state, we first try to change this world. We try to bend the terrestrial world into a way that's more agreeable for us. Before getting in contact with other states of awareness, allowing that to transform how we see this world, and then going through the transformation. So when you change yourself first. You change how you see the world first, then you change the world. So it starts here first. It starts how we look at the world. Now, look at this, because this is so. You're developing. You're getting a very nuanced understanding of Scripture. Because look at what he says. Then Jacob awoke from his place, 16, from his sleep, and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. 17, and he was afraid. He was Yahweh. That word is literally, and he was Yahweh. So the whole experience now allowed him to have a deeper sense of awe. The whole experience. So he went here, and he came back here, and now he has more. Now he Yahweh's the Lord in a deeper way. And the word Yahweh is used 2 times. He was afraid, Yahweh, and he said, how Yahweh, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven. So because he was able to expose to these realms, it completely transforms how he sees his world, and now he has a deeper sense of Yahweh. Now, where's the spiritual practice?
I think in verse 18, because he set up this stone as a pillar, reminding him of worshiping and communion
Exactly.
with God.
Setting up the pillars. When in verse 18.
What about 22?
The spiritual practice. So he rose early in the morning. He took the stone that he put under his head, something that was perfunctory, something that was used in a terrestrial way. He transformed that, he took and set up for a pillar and poured oil on top of it,
Right.
and he called that place Bethel. Exactly, that was a spiritual practice. The spiritual practice is whatever we do to make us, or to remind us, to reconnect us to Yahweh. That's the spiritual practice. The spiritual practice is whatever we do to keep Yahweh fresh in our hearts and minds.
So Yahweh can be lost even if you get to that celestial level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that the whole point of the spiritual practice is not only to cultivate a sensitivity to Yahweh in us, but it's also to reconnect it to us to it. It's to remind us of the times when we did experience Yahweh. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of worship. The whole point of prayer. Everything is about cultivating that sense of awe, cultivating that sense of reverence. Because if we have that, then everything changes about how we see the world. So that's the key. Yeah, Eddie?
So then, to round that back out, as you said, once you go up to intermediate and hopefully celestial, then you'll see the terrestrial differently.
Exactly.
Can you say then, when he said, oh, and when I got back to the world, I'm going to give 1/10?
Yeah.
Because that was a different way he saw the world.
Exactly. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And that's the other thing that we can put into spiritual practice. Because the 1/10, why did he do that? Why did he do that? The 1/10. What was his reason for doing that?
Because his spiritual connection that he had, and he knew that from other scripture that you're supposed to give 1/10.
Good.
He wanted to go through and now do that because he had a different feeling about the world.
And go ahead.
Well, God had given to him
Right.
so much
Uh,
that he wanted to give something back in return.
right.
But I don't know that the 1/10 was in Genesis. I thought that was further into other books.
It is further into the book.
Yeah.
It's further into the book.
Yeah.
But I mean, that caught me by surprise. I didn't
Yeah.
pay attention to that the first time.
Yeah.
But this one, the 1/10 is also one way to keep him reminded, to keep him
Of
guided.
that, right.
Because remember, the 1/10 is supposed to put him back in a place of,
Right.
you know what, just how gracious and good God is. And just how everything comes from God. So the whole point of it is to return us back to Yahweh. So everything, the commandments, the spiritual practices, worship at its best should return us back to a sense of God's awesomeness, should return us to a deep sense of reverence for God. And this is what we have to be aware of, because sometimes we get confused. We think worship is about entertaining us or making us feel good or even comforting us. And that's not the point of worship is to return us back to a state of reverence. That's the point of worship. And when we lose that focus, we get into some dangerous places. We really lose the power of worship itself. Because this is what makes it powerful. This of awe, having awe. Because when we have an awe, everything changes. Everything changes. Good. We're good? Okay. Let me. I got 10 minutes. Let me do this real quick. I'm gonna go through this, and I want you to go. I want you to go over this at home. This is gonna be your homework. So
Homework.
y'all gotta go deeper now. Okay. So good. Y'all nailed that one. So I want you to go home and I want you to read, because this is a very, very poignant example of it. A little bit longer than Genesis 28, but it's a good example as well. Read Numbers chapter 13 and 14, and we talked about this briefly last week. And I want you to think about, in light of the 2 chapters above, in our discussion of Yahweh, interpret Numbers 14:24. And Numbers 14:24 says, "But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit in him, has followed me fully. I will bring him into the land where he went, and his descendants shall inherit it." And that's a very, very important verse. And I'm going to give you the highlights, but I want you to go back and look at it. In this verse, we see in chapter 13 what happens is that, like we talked about last week, spies are sent out. They're in the wilderness, and spies are sent out to the land of Canaan to see how it is. So spies scout the land, then they come back and report. And what the scripture says, and I want you to go read this. So they give reports. Now a group of them say, listen, the land is good and it's flowing, it's prosperous, but those people are going to crush us. They're going to kill us. We're like ants compared to them. And they say, look, one good thing is negative. And then Caleb stepped up and said, no, we'll be all right. We can take the people because God is with us.
Yeah.
Then it goes into chapter 14. And chapter 14 talks about how God says, listen, I've given the Israelites enough chances. None of y'all are getting into the land of Canaan. None of you getting into the land of Canaan. Except, and then it was Joshua that went in, and then he said, and then it ends with verse 14. But Caleb, my servant, because he has a different spirit in him, has followed me fully, I will bring him into the land where he went, and his descendants shall inherit it also. So because Caleb had a sense of Yahweh, because he was able to interpret the terrestrial world in a different way, God allowed him access to different terrestrial parts. Now that is what we always want to jump to, but we can't forget. See, a lot of us want to just jump to the fact that, well, if I have faith, God will bless me. God will bless me this round. That is true, but you got to go through these other things of perception first, having your perception change, and once you change your perception, and once you begin to walk with God, God opens up new terrestrial areas for us, and that's what's so powerful. But go back and read Numbers 13 and 14, and it will completely transform this notion of your desire to have a different spirit. But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit in him and has followed me fully, I will bring him into the land where he went, and his descendants shall inherit it. So what does Yahweh cultivate? Yahweh doesn't only cultivate a sense of, Yahweh changes our perception, opens us up to celestial truths. It changes how we view the terrestrial world, but it also changes what we receive in the terrestrial world if we go through those steps. So, but go through that, read that. It's very, very powerful. And this captures my heart. He had a different spirit. That's what we're going to cultivate. We're going to cultivate that different spirit. Because when we carry that different spirit into the places we go, we see those places differently. And because we see those places differently, different things open us to us in a tangible way. And that's what's so powerful. Okay. You still with me?
Yes.
Okay, this last slide. Sometimes God's grace is explicitly the precursor to Yahweh, as we saw with Jacob. Jacob had a deeper sense of reverence and awe of God and his location after encountering the celestial and intermediate realms. Once we walk through the doors of intermediate and celestial consciousness, our terrestrial circumstances look completely different. And this is what I want you to reflect on. Do you spend any time trying to change your perception of your terrestrial circumstances? Or do you spend all your time complaining about your terrestrial circumstances and trying to change them? Do you spend any effort trying to actually open yourself up to new states of consciousness so that you can see things differently, exactly the way they are? Exactly the way they are. Instead of trying to rush to change them. Because we can't, it's very dangerous to try to change something when you don't really understand what you're changing. And you don't really see it in a celestial way. So until we are able to have a deeper perception of our circumstances, we should probably hold off on waiting on rushing to change it, because we don't really know what we're changing.
Will you be sending us this slide?
Yeah. Last thing, Yahweh gives us access to new terrestrial circumstances. That's the last thing, which you'll see more prevalently. Caleb, see Numbers 14:24 is a perfect example of that. So this is absolutely critical for really tapping into what made Jesus' ministry so powerful. And I'll end with this. I think the perfect example of it is when I mentioned this a couple times before. you know, the religion about Jesus, the religion of Jesus. You know, when Jesus' disciples came to him, and even though they were following him, they realized that he was in a whole different realm. And it's not, you know, not divinity realm. I'm talking about just the way he was operating, what he was doing was so radically deeper and impactful than what they were doing, even though they were calling it the same thing. And they came to him, remember they said, Lord, teach us how to pray as John taught his disciples. Because what you're doing and what we're doing are obviously two different things. We're calling it prayer and you're calling it prayer, but when you pray, the skies open up. When you pray, people are healed. When you pray, demons are cast out. And it's all about, you know, what are you doing? Why is it so different between what you're doing? And you have already told us that we will be able to do things as you do it, and greater things than these shall people see. You know, so Jesus already told them that. So what's the disconnect? And this is the key component of it. Cultivating that deep sense of Yahweh, and out of that Yahweh, changing our perception, and out of that perception, changing our world. That is the key. That is the fundamental key to the religion of Jesus right here.
Have you ever thought that the different spirit in Caleb was Jesus? Even though it's in the Old Testament, because he knew that Jesus was coming.
Yeah.
There's someone coming. And that spirit of Jesus was already in Caleb. He had a different spirit. Because there's not a whole lot of different spirits running around here, I don't think. So I think maybe not good ones anyway. So
That's not conversation.
so I think that, I mean, just possibly, I mean, philosophically, maybe he had a precursor in him of Jesus in the spirit.
That could definitely be about interpretation. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. That's. I mean, go back and read that. I will all read that. I think that's a good point. Yeah.
What you have by reflection, do you spend any time trying to change your perception? Do you mean through things like meditation and prayer? Is that?
Yeah. Because the problem with how we practice prayer, most of us practice prayer. We use prayer as a vehicle to change our terrestrial circumstances. But that's not really the point of prayer. The point of prayer is first to align our spirits with God's spirit, and in that alignment, our perception of our terrestrial circumstance should change. So we use prayer in the wrong way, and I would say, I don't think you were here for the prayer class. You weren't here for the prayer class. So some people talk to God and some people pray.
Right.
You know, so but this prayer in its pure sense, prayer in its biblical sense, really should be a transformation of us and how we see the world, and really getting in greater alignment with a celestial way
So
of
that's
seeing
what
the
you
world.
should be praying for or with, is to change, allow you to be aligned.
I don't think you should. Well, yeah, we can pray for that, but I mean, prayer in the simplest is whatever you do to align your spirit with God's spirit. You don't have to pray for anything, but it's the process of alignment. So prayer could be meditation, prayer could be service, prayer could be, but it's more of alignment than you could pray for that. That's fine, you know. But this is definitely just a question that can really open things up for you in your life, because all of us believe, no matter how, you know, long we're on this journey, all of us believe that we can just change a couple of things will be better. That's so tempting. That's so tempting. I know many things I was like, if I can just get this, you know, but it really doesn't work. It doesn't work. So, all right, good stuff.
Wait, can you go back to that?
To the homework slide.
Yes. Yeah, that's the homework. All right, let's close.
Oh, you mean here?
And everyone.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. You were about through anyway, right? That's why I
Did you
moved
send
over.
an email? Did you register for the class? Okay. Just send me emails. I'll put you on there. So we're still doing our Lord's body prayer. So grounding ourselves.